We are activating your unique self-discovery one show at a time. The Orchard of Wisdom Self-Discovery podcast are at your fingertips, just waiting to inspire and invite you in discovering just how awesome you really are and how to navigate through life in joy, enrichment, personal abundance, in mind, body, spirit, heart, and soul. All the people we bring you are here to serve you on your journey of life. Do enjoy our next show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to selfdiscoverymedia.com. You're listening to For the Love of Music. And then anybody who listens to me knows that I love music and what big impact it has on my life. My wonderful guest today is Marilyn Scott, a jazz singer. You lay back, you listen to her music. It is warm, comforting, calming, and then her words just stand out. And she has a message for us, and a message of how we live, how we treat each other, how we treat the planet, what we can do about it. And it's just so beautifully laid back. It's not forceful. It's not in your face. It kind of goes into your psyche. This is music you've got to listen to, folks. And I've been listening to her album now quite a bit since I knew I was going to interview you, and I got lost in the music. And I love it. I love your music. And this is, you've been doing this a while. You've been around the music block for a while now, and you've been working with an awful lot of people, which we're going to be talking about today. And music is something that's extremely important to you, isn't it? It's something that, you're Grammy nominated, you're a contemporary jazz musician. You've performed with some of the best musicians all over the world for a number of decades. And that you can have enthusiasm and you can put out great music as a youthful person, but that experience of life kind of integrating with you and the experience of working with other musicians and seeing other parts of the world, it leaves its mark, and I can feel it comes out in your music. Welcome to the show, love.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate folks like yourself who take the time to listen, and that you find something in it that really speaks to you, and that's everything for a writer to be able to have that comment. That whether you're instrumental or you're a vocalist, to be able to transcend that feeling to someone that's listening is the gift.
Yes, and
it goes both ways. So
yeah.
I need you and you need me. And that's how it is in life,
Yeah, I mean that, the yin yang is the balance of life, and without either, we're not whole. And
right.
This has been my writers' week. I've had writer workshops, and I have had poets on, and now the poetry of music and the impact of what words say, and whether you're writing your story, or whether you're writing something that just has to speak from you, or whether you are writing it to sing it. It is that when it's in you, it has to come out of you. And I believe that everybody is in that self-discovery of what their instrument is, musical or non-musical, but what their instrument is in life, learning how to play it and then finding their orchestra to play it in. We've all got a voice. We've all got something to say, but, it's finding that avenue, to do it. So was music for you always that avenue? Was it always that path for you that was chosen for you?
Well, speaking of self-discovery, I mean, we have that before us every day to pick it up, and that we need to find how we're going to lay out our day, how we're going to work it out, and what kind of time are we going to give ourselves to express ourselves and to be, who we are.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, because I don't care how evolved you are, it takes a concentration. We live in a society, we live with cars up and down the street, so many distractions that, it's hard to get to ourselves. And that's the message on this this particular CD. And you asked me, how did I get there?
Yeah. How did music start for you?
Well, I was attracted from, my parents in the house, playing music, and I loved it. And I listened, and we had radio, and radio was also part of, turning to a channel that is going to expose you to all different types of music. And I've always been pretty attracted to all types of music. And although my mother died when I was really young, she played piano and she sang. She was more operatic and classical trained. And I think that all that became part of me. Yeah. And as I got to be a teenager, I got myself into bands and through high school, and then graduated and went to college up in the Southern California, from Southern California up to the Northern California. And, if you're in the Bay Area and San Francisco, at that time, this early 70s and that, it was full of music and full of great musicians. And that was sort of the beginning. Yeah.
I'm a 70s chick as well. So, 70s was my era, but I was living in South Africa at that time. And we didn't have TV, we had radio, but we would go to venues, to listen to the music or have a party, and people would come over and just pick up an instrument and play. But it was music at the campfire on the beach at night. Music was just like everywhere. And we were so influenced by the honesty and the message of the musicians of that time.
Yeah, it's so, when we grew up, I guess this is an old timer saying this, but we were freer about, picking up an instrument and everybody playing and pardon me, sharing music, pulling out a record and saying, have you heard this? And flipping it over and looking who played and say, who is this guitar player? I saw that he played on Aretha. And, so it was a different kind of sharing and this creative, even though not everybody was a so-called musician, everybody participated in it.
Yeah, whether you were, I was a dancer, so of course that was my voice of music. But it is, and I was also a DJ. I was one of the first mobile DJs in South Africa. So we got to bring the music to parties, and we got to kind of choose it. And back in those days, it wasn't just a turntable and a phone. You carried these huge big speakers that were like coffins and big turntables and heavy crates of records. But it was wonderful to have the influence of introducing new music to people or changing the atmosphere of a party and getting people kind of just let their hair down and just, grooving. And I was very, very young. I was 16 at the time. So it was really impactful for me of how impactful music can be.
It is. It's spectacular. It is a healing force.
Yeah, most certainly for me. If I'm feeling at all rabbit hole is opening up, it's the headphone goes on and the music, and I do believe actually the music has that frequency to kind of realign, our psyche and bring it back to a more equilibrium.
Yeah, I think I've kind of belonged to an idea of the jazz effect. And the jazz effect is the healing of music, and for people, when they're not feeling well. One of the things that if you happen to be in a hospital or something, headphones are as vital as drinking water,
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I've just seen 2 movies this week. One was on the new Elvis, and the other was actually Respect, Aretha Franklin's story. Both excellent movies and very, very well portrayed. But both of them were supreme artists that everybody wanted to mold into a different marketing package. And in the case of Elvis, it was a horrible story, really, of the abuse that was, portrayed on him of such an artist. And, I wasn't growing up a big, huge Elvis fan. I always respect the musician, but not necessarily my music.
Right.
But when he was let loose to be him and hear the music and know how to arrange it and how to get people going. And it's the same with the Aretha Franklin. Let her be. She knows what she wants to hear. She knows what instrument comes in. She knows how to bring it together. And this is the mark of a true musician, is because you don't need somebody micromanaging you, say, it's got to be this, because that's what's popular right now. You need somebody who says, I see it in you. How do I help you pull it out?
Well, I came from a time that if you had a good voice, you know, they would always say to me, listen, if you do this, you'll be able to do what you want.
Right.
That you know, because this is going to generate if you go more in a poppier way, that this will generate more of a widespread approval of you, and you'll be able to do the things that you want to do. And it never quite worked out that way. And
because you're misrepresenting you.
It's unfortunate, but at least, you know, we kept saying, well, at least I'm in the music business. At least I'm surviving. I've got a so-called deal. But with that deal usually came people who said, yeah, well, you know, but this is how you're going to keep the deal, and you're going to do these things first. But you know, I don't yeah, I regret some things, you know, but I don't it's all part of our path, I guess. And
yes.
I don't want to ever feel that it didn't go my way. I mean, it did go my way, because I'm here today to be able to make music. So I'm very thankful. Yeah, but those were a lot of stories of a lot of people, and like myself. And it took time for us to gain that kind of power, so we could be able to make the kind of music we wanted to make.
Well, you know, this album is in a way, it's a quiet protest, you know, of us being observing what we're doing to each other, to the planet. And, you know, it is, it's for the people that perhaps don't want to hear the shouting anymore. They want to have it spoken softly. And, you know, it kind of brings me to Billie Holiday, another great movie.
Great movie.
And you know, her song, I can't remember the title of it, but how she was persecuted to her death, you know, with that one song, you know, talking about the lynching, which they just, no, this isn't ever happening. As if you take the song down, it's going to change anything. And it's, I think we're in an era where we can speak out, we can sing out, we can say more without the fear of the persecution. Yeah, there's always the ridicule on social media. There's always the trolls, right? But I think we're in an era now where we can stand up and speak out and say something without that same fear. Have you felt that at all?
Well, we've got great role models that have made brilliant songs. Stevie Wonder comes to mind, and Higher Ground and Superstition. There are a lot of things that you can do without preaching to people.
Yeah.
And actually what you need to do is, if you can put yourself in that story, you know, and then it becomes something that you can share, instead of, you know, don't do this, don't do that. You know, I think that a lot of things that I wrote on this particular project, you know, I didn't feel, I was in the middle of a pandemic, so I was feeling that we need to talk about it.
Yes.
We need to talk.
Yes.
You know? And I think that there's a lot of love in this album, because it's for the love of.
Yes.
It's for the love of ourselves.
Yeah.
And we need to always keep trying to define that, because we can get lost in it with so much going on.
I think that was the beauty of it. You know,
you could ever want is right here, is what I said tomorrow. You know, you don't have to go anywhere. Everything is right in front of you, and all you need to do is open up and reach for it, and it can heal you. It can be part of your life in the moment.
But, you know, as you said, a lot of people are hearing just a great deal of noise. And really, quite honestly, in the last few years, basis in 2015, with a certain person coming into power, there's just been so much screaming, so much yelling, so much protest, so much anger. And then, of course, the pandemic and the resistance and you know, the economic and the war, and just people are saturated.
Yeah, they are.
But, you know, we can't ignore what's going on. We have to be the solution. We created the problem. We've now got to be the solution. But we need that gentle touch that gentle nudge, that gentle reminder, yes, you're doing it for the world, but it starts with you. Do it for you.
Right.
Be your own empowerment, be your own essence of love. For when you are, you become that solution and that illumination for other people.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. And it's the artist's duty to reflect, life, whether it's painting or dancing or what have you. I think
or whether it's ugly or beautiful, right?
Yeah, right. We have a duty to say it all,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, has jazz always been your thing, or were you influenced into jazz, or was it that this was your voice?
I was always had a respectful quest for jazz, and I realized, well, that at the time, when I was in the 20s and 30s, that I had to attain a certain that I got here, that I've reached this place that is so revered that, that I now fit into it. And that's what I tried to do. And looking back, I wish I would have grabbed more instruments and studied harder. Well, I didn't have Berkeley at my fingertips. I didn't have those things that I could study and be. So the clubs became, a learning place for me, and the musicians that I played with. They're the ones. They were the teachers for me, and so I started out probably much more of an R&B person, a blues person, and I wrote a lot that way with a lot of different people. But I liked things that were more difficult. I listened to a lot of instrumental jazz music. I wanted to be inserted into it. And so I kept trying to find ways to take what I was attracted to in jazz and figure out a way how I could be part of that. I did do some standard stuff because I thought it was required. There's my dog, Cheryl.
It's okay. Just joining the conversation.
She hears the mailman. I think it's interesting, but I've always respected it. And, looking back at artists that I revered, like Ella or Sarah or Betty Carter, Dee Dee Bridgewater, these people came from bands that were huge orchestras, and that they played with a lot of different ones, and all these orchestras were full of the best, the very best, and that was an incredible environment. So when I grew up, we have to create a band, play with that band, move to the next band or the next gig, and hire another group of people. For me, I've been a solo artist for a long time, so I don't really have a group per se. And honestly, I liked it like that because every time I made a record, it required a different feeling. And so I wanted those people involved that I did that with. And it's all about interpretation to me. But I'm not like that as much as I was. Today, the tune doesn't have to sound anything like it did on the digital or physical copy. It can evolve to anything, and that's the place to be. That's what jazz is. That's improvisation, and I like doing that. I can't wait to play this music that way.
I've always been a bluesy person. I think what I love, the R&B, and I've loved the disco and everything else. It's all music, but for me, it's the music that makes me feel I can stretch out, that I can elongate, that it's kind of slow and deliberate, and it really does embrace you. And I love that kind of music. And one thing I loved about the Elvis movie is his influence of Black music, of church music, how it just gets into your gut and your soul and into your veins, and how it and it's music. There's a young guy I've interviewed, Justin Johnson, He's an Americana blues guitarist, and people making guitars out of oil cans and spades and everything else. As long as he's got strings, he can make it. And
That's right.
he is the instrument. There isn't a separation. He is the instrument. And, I feel that's with you, with your voice, is that it doesn't matter who's playing. You are the instrument. You are the music that was going to take us on this journey. And the only reason we can hear the words is because of the enunciation and the elongation of the music around it.
It's like painting, you're the one that's going to make the stroke, but
yes,
the paint itself is going to create a different story, and you hope that you're choosing the right paint. And that's singing, and that's playing with certain players. I find it extraordinary, and the feeling that you get to create that is one that I don't ever want to be without if I can.
Yeah. I'm envious because I always would have loved to have played an instrument or be able to sing. Unfortunately, as an asthmatic, so never could get there, didn't have the lung power. But music has always been that healer for me, that form of expression. The thing about what you're doing with this special album, not only are you speaking to the self-love and the love of the planet, and let's be aware and let's care, but it's the softness in which you do it, that it slows us down. And we're inclined to, every era has the certain beats and the certain background music, but I think we are all desperately needing to take a breath and slow down. And everybody's asking, but how do I get out of this? What do I do? How do I get out of this? Yeah, I know there's this, that, etc. But it's all, and having something that calms us down, that now we can actually hear what it is that we know we need to hear. Then it feels it's more empowering. And I don't care what the age group is right now, because I know younger loves faster, but we all need at that time to kind of just pause and slow down and listen and pay attention, because as a human nation, we've forgotten A, how to read, and B, how to listen.
Sure. Yeah, we do. Yeah. On this project, I just tried to talk about different ways of and different, in some cases, different ways to find yourself.
Yeah.
And I talk about the things that I see, that the people. If I go to the beach, I see people rush to the shore to plop themselves down, to be in a place that is, that from where they're coming, could be apartment houses or houses that are just so close to each other, that to get on the beach is a vacation for a couple of hours. And that is just going to bring everything back to zero for you, so that you start over.
Yeah.
And you feel refreshed, and you don't let anything get in the way, and enjoy your kids and enjoy the moment. And it seems like we're nicer to each other when we're all together like that. We're all like, hey, what's going on? Hey, man, and we're saying hello. And that's what I love. Yeah.
But we've got this big firework festival that's been happening here, and it's various countries that compete, and it happens over 3 nights, and there's like 350,000 people there on the beach. Wow. And we've just had 2 nights of it, and they've both been without incident, a couple of people, but the little troublemakers they've taken away, but no big incidences.
Good.
And that's because people are not only they're out and about under the sky, and being able to be together, but it is that celebration, that however beautiful the fireworks is, coming together in a celebration, and everybody's nice to each other because we all are uplifted by the good vibrations that we all bring. And anticipation.
No judgment.
No.
None.
Everybody's there just in anticipation, and then in the wonderment of it. And then, once you hit that certain frequency of good vibes, you can't help but kind of cheer each other on and smile to each other and be nice to each other, you know?
I wrote The Sun, it's on this project, and that's about going to a place in Brazil called Bucios. And literally, that's exactly what I saw, was people just parking themselves all the way in the water with chairs and tables and umbrellas, and the music is hugely loud. They got giant speakers on the beach.
Yes.
They're playing incredible music, and it's an experience, and it's just down to earth. No, they're just wearing little serapes around their waist and a little bathing suit top, and that's all you're going to be in for the whole time you're going to be there.
And nobody is really looking at each other going, ooh, ah, e. It is,
no.
You're there for the experience. And the beauty of these fireworks, it is to music. And so which just, heightens the whole experience. And when my kids were younger, we used to go down for the day. We were there early in the day with the picnic, pick our spot. The kids would swim, we'd have picnics and this and that, and then get ready for the evening with the anticipation. It was a whole day affair.
The whole day, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But, yes, all right. We've had the lockdown and everything else. We've been kind of suppressed, and there's a lot of people who are talking about the lack of freedom. And there's a few countries you need to go to find out about what the lack of freedom is, because, let's get real. But, I think a great deal of the problem is a lot of people are trapped within themselves. It isn't the walls that have held them in. It's the state of being they've got themselves into to feel they're powerless, or they're saturated with all the bad news. And we've got to find that way to open ourselves up and find a reason for living again.
It's funny that you say that, because the first tune on my project is called Thrown Out into Space Butterfly, and it is about being sort of lost.
Yes.
And looking to nature, to be in nature and seek an answer. And we need to do that. We have to go out into nature to find ourselves. And
nature has all the answers. Before we were talking about where we're living, and I'm on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, and I moved here 4.5 years ago from the mainland. The mainland got too static for me. It got too busy for me. And the beautiful thing about the island is, I think, kind of why your music resonates so much, is that it feels as relaxed as the island vibe. And, the island is, we slow down and we look at the beauty that is around us, and we realize how much beauty is around us. And we want to immerse into that beauty, feel it, experience it. And, that's, again, like your music, it sets that stage where we can actually listen to the words and start seeing the message and seeing the beauty that is out there. Don't be so clouded by all the negative. Let's step into gratitude and see what else is out there that we can be grateful for, and you will find us a great deal more than the other.
Yeah, even if you have to reach to your inner self in order to reveal it. You have to do that in order to find the answers. You have to be open if you can, and being alone is good, because you can do that. There's nothing on the outside that can get in, other than you're speaking to yourself.
I think it's one of those things you gain as you get older and get more mature. I realize that loneliness in a relationship or amongst people, it's so much more despairing than being happy and alone with self.
That's so true.
Part of life experience that gets us there, right?
Yeah, it takes all that. It takes all of the life experience, and to read it out, sing it out, play it out. Yeah. And it's funny and little things like that are what reach people in certain ways. A tune, a solo, a dance, it can reach somebody and complete an answer that they were asking for, but maybe it will come next week. It'll come in 2 days, but it'll come, and you go, yeah.
And some people don't even know what the question is. Sometimes it could be that question that helps you seek the answer, right?
True. That's very true. Yeah. Excellent.
The people that you've played with through the years, you know, you've had a different experience with each one of them, but, you know, have there been any that have stood out and stayed with you that had such a huge impact on you?
Well, sadly, I've lost some friends that, you know, to life, you know, them passing, and that I don't have around me now. So one of them would be George Duke, that he was a great influence on me. And we had an incredible relationship about music and friendship. He and his wife were very dear to me, and Corrine Duke, and I missed them so much. And we made some incredible music together. I also work with Russell Ferranti and Jimmy Haslip, who Jimmy being a former Yellow Jacket member, and Russell is a present Yellow Jacket founding member. And we've been writing together since 1980, and knowing each other. And I met Russell from up north, and you know, so their friendship and us growing together and writing together and playing together is family. And
it's like
so,
an extension, right? Extension of your body. Here comes my limb.
yeah, it is. And it goes back to all even the first things I ever recorded. The people that were on some of those things are now very famous people, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is these long friendships of musical experiences together. They never die. It's like saying you have a group of girlfriends that you went to high school with, and you guys get together every once in a while, and when you get back together, you start where you left off.
You're on the same vibe again.
Yeah. That's right. And there's just a closeness there that is very different than a lot of people you might have as friends that are on another side. So, you know, I think playing together makes you family.
Yes.
And it's very personal, and it's very intimate, and it's, you know, it's emotional. So you might even break down and cry during something because of how people are communicating and playing this. I don't mean break down. I mean just that it will, you'll fill up inside, and because of the beauty of it, of the emotional part of it. And so those are great relationships that I've had. I only mentioned a few, but I had a really close relationship with Etta James. And played with her, and we were friends, and I miss her.
It's people that you're just such on the same frequency that nothing needs to be said, right? You know, you're just there, and it's like, it's I haven't seen it, but so many people have talked about the Beatles documentary, and you know, it doesn't matter if they stepped into fight or disagreement, but when they got together to record, you know, they were each other's limb, heart, and soul. And when they got together, you know, the creativity of them individually was one thing, but when they came together, they were the orchestra, you know. And you know, there's certain people that it's just when you get into their presence, they are just a part of you, and they ignite that inside of you, and there is no explanation or really even conversation. It's just that it's there, and in tune with each other.
Well, it's, again, music is a beautiful place to be, and I, you know, that's where I live, so I put it that way. But I know that it lives in all creative sources, and I know that if you have the ability to love something in music, you have the ability to do it yourself, to experience it, whether you think you can or not. You know, it's something you understand intuitively.
And, you know, not everybody has to be the singer or the performer. It is, as you said, the partnership. You know, when that piece of music just speaks to you at the right time, it's there at that right moment with what you're going through in life, it becomes a best friend. You know, if that particular song or that particular artist, there's such an affinity towards that person because you feel such an alignment that they understand or they're speaking your words or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
and that's, you know, why an artist's poetry that comes out in song, you're speaking so much to the way people feel that maybe can't articulate.
Yeah, a lot of stuff comes from, for me, lyrically, from, I write poetry too.
Mm.
And then I'll transform some of that into a lyric form for music. And if it, you know, if it's about the right thing. Anyway, you know, I'll come back and I'll look at a piece that I did and I'll go, did I do that?
Mm-hmm.
When did I do that? You know, and then I'll look at the date and I'll go, wow, that wasn't too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we have an inner calling
Yeah.
that helps us for our greater angels and souls that live with us. I believe in that divine
Yes.
intervention that helps us do the things that if we will it, if we believe in it, if we court it hard enough, that we will get the help we need for it.
Yes. Yes. The
I
total opening up and channeling the divine. If we do that, it is our compass. It is our generator. It is our guider.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm not the believer, for me personally, that prays for everything that I do, because I have a responsibility to do it. I'm here to work in my life, to walk my path, and I have to accept my choices because they're
Yes.
my choices.
They're yours to own, right? And that's
Exactly.
I had Robin Williams on. I've had him on a few times, and he used to be with the Beach Boys in the early days. And he said he was one day sitting in the studio with Brian, and Brian got onto the piano, and he said he played this piece that just transformed, just utterly amazing. He just sat there in awe. And then afterwards say to him, it was just magnificent. Can we record it? And Danny said, record what? You know, and it's the beauty of we have now, when the music's in you, you can press a record on it. But
yeah,
but he was just channeling some music for himself that once played was played. It wasn't for anyone else, but for him at that moment, right?
And playing. He was just playing.
Yeah.
I've seen Lyle Mays do just that many times, where it's just incredible, just an incredible passage of music that may last, 10 minutes. And if it hadn't been put on, recorded somehow at a live gig, then it would have gone by and never to be played the same again.
Exactly, because they were just so channeling the moment. There was a wonderful experience I had in Rome in 75, and the person I was out with, we said, we're going somewhere special, and it literally was knock on the door and somebody sent me, and we sat in this bar, and then in the center was just a whole load of instruments and no one there, and he said, just wait. And it would be at the end of the evening when the various artists had finished their gigs, and they'd come in, light a cigarette, grab a drink, sit down and just start playing. Then another artist, and they may know each other and they may not know each other, and the next thing you know, you have got this music because they're downloading from the evening. You've got this music and they're just grooving with each other, and it is an experience,
isn't it?
Yeah. I wish I got more of that experience, but it just, I love, things that come from the heart and the soul. I'm a soul igniter, this heart and soul music. When it comes from that, it is something that there aren't any words to describe it. It is. And so when people are coming from that space as performers, it is nectar to our very being.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. That's beautiful. Yeah. Love those experiences.
Yes.
And you can't get enough of them. And so now that we can be together a little bit, and if we could only get rid of this COVID.
Yes. I'm afraid it's around for a while. It's going to be part of the flus and it's going to be there. And, you know, it's become part of it. We have the chance of completely annihilating and it's not going to be. And we're just going to have to learn with it. And that means we're just going to have to learn to be respectful of each other.
I was just meaning that, you know, if we can get where we can all be together and everybody feel comfortable, then we can have more experiences like that.
Yeah.
I know I have a lot of friends, musician friends, that still feel really uncomfortable about playing live.
Yeah.
And being in small clubs. And if I've got a gig in a small club, they go, I don't know. I don't know if I want to play. I want to play, but got to get something bigger.
Yeah. Well, you know, good ventilation and people wearing masks, you know, and you know, you can't come into the club unless you will. And that's just part of that new pathway that we're on, that new journey we're on. And if we want to listen and respect the artists, you know, it's we've got to respect that we need to protect them.
Yeah, but they don't feel that way. They come in without a mask. And
yeah, well, you know, it just has to be then the club owners, good ventilation. And I'm sorry, without you know, without the mask, there is no music. You don't come in. And you know, those that really want to listen to the music, they wear a mask, and those that don't, well, there's somewhere else for you to go.
Yeah, we did that for a while, and you know, during the worst times, several of the clubs, in order to stay open and or stay alive, so that they could, by the time it was over, they could go back to the normal. They would have a band in with nobody in the club, record it and sell it live. So you know, you had to buy it and then tune into it.
Pay your ticket to watch it live, right? Yeah. And you know, that is it's the survivors are those that think out of the box and go, okay, how do we keep this alive? Right? If you can't see people live, how do we watch the live music, even it's through different means? And, you know, how do we keep people going on that? And I know that one of the artists I interviewed, she had a whole tour lined up that she had to cancel. And so what she did is every Friday at a certain time, she did live music on YouTube and charged people to come to that just a little bit, and just kept herself alive and kept her music alive through that. And so, you know, it's
you can,
if you can, you just have to find the ways, right? But there's nothing that beats, you know, the listening to them, because for me, I'm not necessarily the big big group concert going. I mean, Santana and things like that. Yeah, you want to be in a big group like that, but I'm more of an intimate thing. Music is very intimate to me, and so I like to be in a smaller arena, you know, where the more the wavelength and the vibe is being more transmitted amongst the audience with the music, and you could feel more of that integration. So
nothing like it. Close. There's nothing like close.
So, you know, where are you at now? I mean, you have this new album. You know, are you going to be playing any gigs, or is this are you kind of testing the waters right now to see where it's all going?
Oh, you know, I'm just hopefully we'll be able to play, you know, at the end of the year here. When this project came out in May, at the end of May, top of June, you know, most all the festivals, everything was already booked. So, you know, I guess I'll get on board the next go round, and that's there's a cross for that. And in the meantime, I am just playing little places here in LA, and then just doing some interviews like with folks like yourself, and talking about the project.
Well, I mean, when we talk about the landscape, we're talking about the garden and the landscape of life, but it's really asking people to see the broader picture, isn't it? You know, it's let's look at the entire landscape and realize that we all need to come together. I'm always saying, you point a finger, there's three pointing back at you. What are you doing about it? How can we come together to resolve this? And it's kind of inviting people, quote, quote, back to the club of life. And get on that same vibe and want to kind of be aware of what's going on and be a part of the healing.
I think what's really great about this particular project is that it echoed from the beginning of the story of, the landscape, about where we are in life, and that it's more than trees and views. It's what we are and what we do. When I
part of the seeding, we're part of the soil. Yeah.
When I had the idea for a tune for this project, I would reach out and start writing it with someone, and then we would, because of COVID and we couldn't be together, we didn't record in a studio all together. We couldn't be that way, so we had to send a file, and so everybody was sort of in the same place at home, and we built the song that way. Add the drums, add a bass, add guitar, and maybe somebody would have it for a week, or they came back, and so there was no really dictating exactly how everything was going to go, other than the basic chart of the changes in that. So what was the beauty of it was that everybody came with a different interpretation every time we handed it off to someone. So it was where they were. And you wouldn't question it. You would just, because these musicians are so great, you wouldn't say, can you play that again? It would alter it, and then it go to the next person, and it would alter the tune, and it would alter the tune. And so what it ultimately became was maybe not exactly what I had envisioned, but it was a culmination of everyone's feeling where they were at the time. They're different, the kind of creativity that they felt. And so you can hear that energy. For me, I can. And I think that came across because it's very strong. I know you say that it's mellow, but it's strong in its message.
Yes.
And that's what I really liked. It wasn't overplaying it. It was strong in its message and in its importance, and everybody contributed to that particular piece that way. We made 7 tunes, so I think when you talk about the landscape, that it wasn't only about where we are today. It was also about what we were feeling as we were recording it as a people. Going through this, having to be home, having not to be in the environment that you're used to. Can't go out and play. You can't, so there's a couple of things going on there. It's nice to talk about it, because I know that most folks don't know that it took about 1.5 years.
But it's complementary. I mean, this is why I'm saying, the mellow of the music is that it's so complementary. The music is so complementary there that it allows your voice. It's not like a bellowing voice over the music. Everything is intertwined and complementary with each other.
Well, that's great for you to say. Thank you.
So that's why you feel, it's like kind of being by the river and just watching the beautiful ripples of water. And sometimes they gather a little more, and then sometimes they're really nice and smooth and level out, and you could feel it. It's like each musician has listened to their bit, to the words, and they've complemented it with their own piece.
Right. And because of where we were and what the nature of the tune was, it became really kind of an important outlet.
You can, I'm one to replay music, and you can get sick of things at certain times where, okay, it's saturated. And I have certain artists that, I go down and look after my 16-month-old grandson, and I'm introducing him to different types of music, and and it's Hey Google, and I have them play the artists that I've interviewed. And it's and I don't get sick of it, but it's so cute just to watch this little baby kind of get into the groove of something, and yes, I want him to kind of get that music,
and deep
and saturated into his very genes.
And it will.
Yeah,
it certainly will.
Yeah. And it's very interesting. I mean, somebody gave him a book a librarian teacher friend of mine, and on the page he can press a little number, and we had to look to where it was, and he knew where it was immediately, and it plays Beethoven.
Oh,
And he loves that book.
of course
And he plays
does.
to it, and
Wow.
every musical thing he gets to. And my daughter bought him for his first birthday kind of a psychedelic keyboard, and he likes that too. But I notice when it is grooving music or music that has that soul to it, you see the little body go, and it's so cute. It's adorable. Never too early and never too late to have music in your life, right?
Never too late.
Never. And I think as we get older, you know, music changes for different reasons, for different stages in our life. But I feel that music does become something that becomes your best friend, becomes your companion, becomes that blanket, becomes that arm around you, becomes that inspiration or that get up and go. And, you know, music becomes that something that means so much more than just like, oh, it's a song I'm singing along with or I'm dancing to. They're all great, but it just becomes that someone you can rely on.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. And you keep going back to those things,
Mm-hmm.
you know, make a little playlist of those things that really
Yes.
hold those triggers for you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I definitely do that. And as I said, I'm about to go and lock down and write. And, you know, it will be.
I wish you all the luck with that. That's
oh, God. When you having to write one memoir, it's like,
I want to know when you finish it so I can go and buy it. Okay.
Okay, thank you. You know, just like an artist having to discover their voice. My brother is a professional writer and you know, was a professor of literature. And he, you know, when he writes it's a novel, a story, it's the chapter and the story building up. And I'm not a chapter writer, I'm an article writer. And so it's going to be the thread of the articles and why I wrote them and what they mean and a perspective, my view of life.
I think that's beautiful.
And but it is, you know, I've had a lot of advice on how I should do things, and I've listened, and then I've listened to my inner self like you would do as a musician.
For sure.
But, you know, what music is in me, what words are in me. And, you know, if it's just like I'm a big one for watching music competitions, and you hear somebody who sings beautifully technically, and then somebody who comes out who lays their entire heart and soul on and just rips the heart out of you. And it's like, that is what you want to listen to because it moves you.
That's right.
And if you can't put something out, whether it is writing or music or whatever you're doing, art, if you don't put some of that essence into your work, how is it going to be relatable to people? How are they going to connect, right? And you know, the musicians that are really pouring their heart out, that are really saying things from their very being, because you hear them and you feel them and you relate to them, and you're one of them.
You don't want to make, you know, it's not easy.
No.
And you want to show that it's not easy. But that's where the real story lies, and that's where the emotion comes through.
Yes.
And like you said, that's what you really want to see. You really, and if you can be up close and see that, boy,
yes,
it'll take your breath away.
I remember seeing Jose Feliciano up close, and it's just like, you know, literally a few seats away, and kind of getting lost in his music. And Paul, I can't remember his name. He sang Lady in Red. I saw him in South Africa, and again, he was one of those artists that, because he's so, yes, Lady in Red.
But I don't know who did that.
Yeah, the name is right here. It'll come to me after the end of the show. But is that he's a storyteller, you know, and that was his artistry, where he could take you, you know, Patricia the stripper and everything else, and the Spanish train and the devil, you know, and all of that, and everything that he sang in that story brought you into the story, right? You know, you could see the landscape, you could see the canvas. And that's, you know, that's what we want from an artist, is that we want to see, we want to feel, we want to connect. And that's where, you know, a lot of artists I've interviewed from 17, you know, right down to God knows what age. And it's the artists that have been around a long time, artists that have allowed themselves to grow with time, to be true to themselves, and to really know what part of themselves they want to share honestly and openly. That's why you're still around.
Well, I'm really blessed to be around, and I'm blessed that I'm with so many great people like that really are still playing and still making great music, and I love meeting younger, very cool people that are playing, that are still in school, and working with them too. I had a few on this project, so I think that we're all one here. We're not.
Yeah.
There's nothing that divides us.
No. And having kind of sometimes that older blood along with the newer blood, and then emerging in those vibes together, it creates something that is, transforms into a different thing.
That's
And
right.
yeah, it's not like I'm lording over you. It is I'm bringing kind of my bass to your treble, and let's see what trouble we can get into.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And we have the opportunity today, like, if this had been a few years ago with the lockdown, how would you have been able to record this album? And here, through technology, you were able to do it, even though it took a year and a half, you were able to do it, able to put it out. And it probably would have been totally different if you'd gone into the studio together, as opposed to doing it this way. So it's just opened up a totally different expression, hasn't it?
It did. It brought people in a different way.
Yeah.
That's very well. I love knowing that part of the story and telling it, because it's not always, if you don't know that, it was during COVID.
Yeah.
And how we did it. So
yeah,
I think it's great. It's human nature. And
well, there were some people during COVID, they got the lemons and just tasted the sourness, and other people thought, okay, not only lemonade, but lemonade cocktail. And it really is, life is about that attitude, isn't it? Which attitude are you going to take?
That's right. It is about that. And it's about self-realization of your soul and of your life, and keeping it in perspective.
Yes. And I think if we can always step into gratitude, that gratitude attitude, I think we begin to see how much we have to be grateful for, rather than how much we feel we don't have.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree.
But we've also got to remember that there are issues out there, there are problems out there. Stop waiting for everyone else to fix them. First and foremost, heal thyself and bring that beautiful healing essence to the equation, because now you become the healing of the planet.
That's right. You join with everybody else that is feeling like that. Yeah. Music's beautiful. It heals us all. And I just hope that everybody has a chance to get the music that they want, and find ways to share it with other people. And Spotify's great for that. And there's some great platforms these days that are really helpful.
Yeah. Well, this show is listened to on 16 audio platforms and on video platform and on 5 sites. So we're really going to get you around there. And I would love to have a particular song that we could close off with the show tonight. So first and foremost, tell people how they can get your music and how they can find you. And if there's a song we can close out with, and why.
Well, I think you can find me with MarilynScott.com for sure. And on there, under the music tab, it'll show you all the different ways that you can find the music. But particularly, you can find it on any major platform. Those that I just mentioned: Pandora, Spotify, Apple Music. So, and let's see, let's do Thrown Out into Space, Butterfly. I think that would be a good one. And walk out into your garden and enjoy your day, and say hello to it from me.
And please don't just see it, feel it.
Yeah.
Let the music help you feel it. You'll see it in a totally different way.
Thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Marilyn Scott, Scott with 2Ts.com. Please listen to her music. Really listen to it, play it over and over again, because each time you listen to it, you'll hear it in a different way. And it will help also just kind of, as I said, mellow you out so you can truly hear it. And when you're hearing what she is saying, it helps you start seeing and hearing things that are also around you.
And
So
here's a if you can, and if you're interested, there's a great tune on there called "No Room for Hate." And I dedicate that all to all the different. We have ACLU and a lot of different people who are working hard on behalf of defending people from hate
yes,
crimes, and so we gave it to them to stream, and we're going to dedicate any of that streaming money to go to them.
wonderful, wonderful to hear. A little thing the universe gave me 4.5 years ago is the universe is going to shake us up, to wake us up, for us to step up and change it up and grow up vibrationally, but grow up as a humanity.
That's very good. That's very good. Yeah.
And I think we're all at various stages right now. Many people have already changed it up and grown up, and some people are still in the shaking it up. But the thing is that just like the rhythm of music, the rhythm of life must constantly be in flow.
That's a beautiful, beautiful way to put it.
Let the music play from your heart, right? And when you listen to it, let it move you, because that's what it's there for. Music is always the answer. It's the greatest medicine. So.
It is. Have a great time writing.
I will do. Thank you. It's once I get into the groove, that's why I'm not doing any shows. I'm shutting down. I'm just getting into the groove. And when I do, I just let it flow. I'll allow whatever which way it wants to come out. I'll allow.
The landscape, okay?
Yeah, I will be. Okay. Most certainly.
Good.
I've already been there doing that. So yes, I will be listening to it. So thank you so much for sharing here today. Keep the music alive in you. Keep going, please.
Thank you. And I hope to see you again soon.
Yep, Musa, your next album, please come on back.
I promise you that.
And remember, folks, music is a wonderful educator and stimulator, your best friend, an igniter, calmer. It's everything. It's your equilibrium. Listen to the music. This album landscape is just beautiful. The more you listen to it, the more the words stand out to you, and the calmer you become and able to hear the words as well. It really is wonderful. And let's dream out. Until the next time, folks. Bye for now.
I see you travel up and down my yard, and you look to see if I am watching. I have dreams of your colored avant-garde, and I'm open to all of your teachings. When solving the problems that are rough, how do I honor today's invention? I can't walk away when I've had enough, because angels are smiling in my direction. Just this fantastic creature that God lays in the rains. I'm overwhelmed with feelings I can't explain. I've got dirt in my fingers, stars in my throat. My path is overgrown. Can you tell me why? Butterfly, I've been thrown out into space, but you hold the truth in your tiny wings. Can you your perfection? Is it black or white or full of hue? Where freedom can be my expression. Such a strong light, so bright. You're like the sun with an aura that is believing. Don't leave before you expose the rhyme. Just paint it before my mind when I'm singing. It's a fantastic creature that God lays in the rains. I'm overwhelmed with feelings I wouldn't try to explain. But it's in your tiny wings, butterfly. Yeah. Can you tell me why? Butterfly. I've been thrown out into space, but you hold the truth in your tiny wings. Can you tell me why? Tell me why, butterfly. I've been thrown out into space. 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 But you hold the truth. I've been thrown out into space. 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 I've been thrown out into space.
We hope that you enjoyed the show. Find all of our shows on selfdiscoverymedia.com under podcasts or selfdiscoverymedia/shows. And for all our current shows, go to What's New. We are supported by you, the audience. You'll see a nice big shiny blue button for one-time donations or follow us on Patreon and you will be able to support us there. We enjoy bringing you such wisdom. And the next show will be up in just a moment.